Cheat Code. Support Strategist by Clouds. My Head in the Clouds Not Coming Down on AO3. Chapter 59. Improvement. Today was a day. It didn't seem like much of an unusual day in the morning. Shoto had just showed up early to be able to shower before class like he had ever since Endeavor kicked him out. But when he walked into class, there was a small packet sitting on every desk beside Ida's, and that was only because he'd already picked his up and was reading through it furiously. Ingenium had parked his wheelchair in the back of the room and waved at him with the hand that wasn't currently lifting through a packet of his own. Shoto almost hesitated, but ended up shaking his head and walking over to his desk, despite how weird this was. When he got to his desk, though, he noticed Cheat Code's logo embedded on the cover, and everything made sense. The Analyst probably still wanted him to use his fire, didn't he? Well, it was high time he started showing his man that his fire was his now, not some gift from Endeavor. Besides, Shiggy had been harping on him for using too many of the same attacks. Shoto had no idea how they'd gotten so many followers in a week, but apparently people liked to see him make a fool of himself, and he got an unhealthy amount of enjoyment out of imagining his father's face when he found out that over 10,000 people were watching his perfect masterpiece fail every single night, even if just thinking about it makes him smile. After the first stream, the new followers had started sending in requests for games for him to try, and one of the most popular ones had been this game called Super Smash Bros. Shoto had never heard of it, but apparently it had been around since pre-Quirk times, and had gone through about 1,000,000 different iterations, but all with the same premise of players trying to beat the shit out of each other and push each other off platforms. Of course, Shoto hadn't understood the goal and immediately walked straight off with the delayed oops that made the chat go wild, but it brought back pleasant memories from the sports festival. Shoto thought he almost decent at the game, but Shigaraki apparently disagreed because he won every single time. He said that part of Shoto's problem was that he tried using the same attacks over and over, and it made him too predictable and easy to beat. But Shoto thought that was kind of unfair, consisting that there were only 2 attacks he knew. The only way to get better, though, was to learn more attacks. Hence why he was determined to master his file. The hero course wasn't too much different than a video game, all things considered. If Shigaraki was here, he'd probably call the entire packet a skill list or something and tell Shoto to max out his stats, which he assumed meant something like being the strongest he could be. He looked through the analysis and suggestions carefully, mentally highlighting anything he hadn't considered before or felt like he could easily incorporate into an attack. Most of it wasn't new, but before he hadn't been ready to, how would Shiggy say it, level up? But now, most of the class had arrived, and most of his classmates were yelling about what was in their packets and comparing them to each other's. Some were pretty happy with the suggestions, like Ashita, who had been persuasive not to try some new technique on her desk, while others were a little less receptive. Why should I stop looking at the babes during battle? Mineta sobbed. Boobs are life, not distractions. Lactose intolerant? Ayamama sparkled, almost seemed dimmer. No! Tell me it cannot be true. Consider avoiding daylight, Tokoyami murmured. So the demon behind a screen wishes me to embrace the darkness. Oh, stop being so dramatic, Jiro rolled her eyes. You don't have to take the suggestions, you know. But, I mean, that's why Cheat Code is giving them to us now, right? Kaminari pointed out. So we have time to incorporate them before finals? Shoto nodded. It made sense. He wasn't quite sure who Cheat Code actually was, or why he was so interested in their class, but his old man never accepted help. So Shoto was going to take as much of it as he could get, then hopefully rub it in Endeavor's face. Mina bounced over to Uraraka. Okay, Miss Gravity Warper over there, what does yours say? Uh, Ochako flipped hesitantly through her packet, which on further inspection was just a single page. Nothing. What? Bakugo almost exploded as he ripped the paper from her hands. Does that pencil pusher think you're better than the rest of us and don't need advice or something? Come talk to me. What the fuck does that even mean? Mineta gasped and stopped crying. Uraraka, do you know cheat code? Uraraka's eyes widened and she started waving her arms. No, I don't. Or at least I don't think so. Maybe he's hiding in plain sight, Shoto suggested. Or maybe he isn't a person at all and is actually a concept. Yariozu nodded. That would make sense. No, it wouldn't. Kaminari pulled at his hair. A concept can't make analysis packets. Shoto just raised an eyebrow. Can't it? His eyes was drawn back to Uraraka when Shinso pulled over her desk and whispered something in her ear. Her eyes widened, and Shoto heard her ears beep for a few times before she was gone. It was going to be difficult to beat her with her new quirk developments, but he's going to find a way. Maybe Shigaraki could help him figure out a way to work around the glitch. On second thought, that probably wasn't the best idea. It was hard to remember that Shigaraki was a villain sometimes, and not just some hobo he met in an alley sometimes. Aizawa walked a few seconds after the bell, and by the look of his face, he was seriously considering walking straight back out. I see cheat code left your analysis packets this morning. Actually, I think he might have left them out last night. Shinso grinned. But he's basically haunts the halls of UA like some sort of goblin. Aizawa glared at him for a second before sighing. I'm looking forward to see how you incorporate his techniques. But don't forget that you have academics as well. Now open your books. We have a lot of work to do if you expect to pass the finals and earn the right to participate in the summer training camp. The class exploded. What? Spinner wondered if this was what it meant to go mad with power. He certainly felt a little mad, but Stain had delivered that a little intensely was the only way to save the world. Spinner felt himself, sometimes, deep inside his mind, whispering. He even swore that he could see the hero killer in his dreams sometimes. A shadowy figure, vaguely, almost there but not quite. It felt like there was something Stain wanted him to know, but their bond wasn't deep enough for any real connection to happen, and All for One had told him that there was only one way to make that bond deeper, by carrying on Stain's legacy and following in his footsteps. He had spent the last week killing as many false heroes as he could, and for someone who had never killed a single person before, he was actually fairly good at it. Stain's quirk covered his weakness perfectly, and with the way their quirks combined, it was almost as if it was destined that Spinner continued the hero killer's work. He would use his brain quirk to climb the walls and alleys where the heroes would be passing, then strike. All for One had been kind enough to gift him Stain's katana, so he used it often. But he found that with the addition of Stain's quirk, his teeth had sharpened themselves into sharp points, and whatever weak, natural venom his lizard quirk gave him made Stain's quirk even more effective. So if he bit the false heroes, he would be paralyzing them longer to eliminate the middleman, since the blood could be ingested immediately instead of after a delay. He'd gone after the smaller heroes so far, sidekicks and lesser-known targets such as Native, who was currently frozen on the ground in front of him. Perhaps he should keep to operating mostly under the cover of darkness. But if Chapter could effectively move and avoid detection during the day, then Spinner could learn to do the same. He couldn't afford to sit around and waste time when there were fakes that needed to be eliminated and a legacy that needed to be maintained. He licked the last of the blood off his lips and stalked towards Native. You are a disgrace of the ranks of heroes. You are a fake, and you don't deserve your title, much less your life. Native, who was panting heavily, unable to move to stop the bleeding from either the stab wound in his shoulders or the bite mark on his hand. Who even are you? I am the hero killer successor, Spinner answered. The mark left by Stain's murder, that can never be removed. I am the one who is going to rid society of fake heroes like you. Native's eyes widened in terror. You're insane. Maybe. Spinner smiled, his newly sharp teeth on full display. But I've done more for society already than you've done in your entire miserable career, and I'm gonna do so much more. He used Stain's katana to stab Native in the leg, twisting the blade as he pulled it out. I hope the heroes find you before you bleed out, so you can spread Stain's message. But if not, it's no big loss. You weren't doing anything good alive either. Natives cried, echoes in his ears as Spinner climbed up the wall and went off to find his next victim. Okay, obviously we get the cheat code packages, love that, but can we talk about Todoroki and Shigaraki? Like, literally this whole chapter, they did not technically interact, but we got to see, obviously Todoroki's point of view, and we've seen his point of view before, and he used to not refer to things in a gamer language, and now he's switching towards that. Can we talk about the fact that they've been freaking streaming together and they've been getting popular? I love that. I love that so much. And the fact that Shoto mentioned how, sometimes he forgets that Shigaraki is a villain. You could tell that they're bonding, and I love that so much, And I want more of that. I want more of that. I didn't think I needed the trauma boys in my life, but now I do, and now I have it, and I want more, right? Spinner, look me dead in the eyes. Spinner, listen to me. You are being manipulated. Manipulated. You cannot tell me that Spinner is not being manipulated, because that's what he's being. Manipulated. And it's sad sitting here and watching it, right? Because, nobody wants to see somebody be manipulated, It's kind of hard to see someone manipulated. But it's what's happening. And I'm sitting here and I'm watching it happen. And it's just And, but yeah, I want to see more of the trauma duo. So, yeah. As always, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds, have a wonderful day or night. Join our community Discord server, link is in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.